Welcome to the Music Wide Open podcast
The place for an honest and thought-provoking conversation
about music,
business,
life,
technology,
and the future,
for curious music enthusiasts.
and musicians seeking personal growth. I'm Ingolf Wunder.
And I am Paulina Wunder. Abundance. We live in times where knowledge is available for everyone, unlike how it was in the past. We have plenty of schools, courses, workshops, masterclasses, in person and online, expensive, inexpensive, and for free. Teachers at institutions and freelance teachers, online tutorials, lectures, videos. There is so much out there that one can get a headache from the intellectual noise these all options collectively create. It's easy to get perplexed and choose maybe not the right sources, tutors, teachers' voices that more or less effectively try to educate us. This also applies to music education in a very broad sense. And I would like to dive deeper into this very subject. Is there a universal truth about who makes a good teacher in music fields? What would you say?
Well, there are some common traits of what makes a good teacher in general. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer, because the universal truth here is very much linked to one of our previous episodes called What is Good Music and What is Good Taste. I think it comes down to this, because only with the outcome of an education, like how one plays or what kind of music one does after one went through a relationship with the teacher or some work with the teacher, you know whether that teacher was good for you.
Yes, of course, retrospectively speaking, then one knows whether the teacher was good or not. But I think what's more important here is the subject of motivations of students.
Absolutely, because this is actually your driving force as to who you are interested in the first place as a student, and then you start, building some connection to him or go to an institution where he or she is teaching, and that's definitely important, because it's a completely different story whether you prepare for a competition or you want to work on a certain composer, or you want to refine a certain skill or get a certain skill that you don't have. So this is important.
That's true, but I'm curious how really students think. I mean, you were once in that position, so you can talk about your experience, but maybe let me start from a situation, okay? I got enrolled at the music university, and there is this teacher who makes an international career, plays concerts all over the place, records for an A-League record label, and obviously I want to study with him. Probably, maybe not, but probably not because of how he plays, but because he makes a career, so maybe I will as well if I study with him. Is there something one should pay attention to? Because this is a not entirely right motivation. I know that we human beings like to, even when you're a student or a young human being, like to lie to ourselves that he plays well or I might learn a lot. But this subconscious thought about this is a famous person or accomplished person, musician, might distract us
from seeing the essence in a person or seeing the character of a person, because I think this is the most important thing at the end. Before I say what I had in my life, many things depend on luck or synchronicity or coincidence, if there is such in life, probably not. Meaning that certain situations you simply cannot control. They just happen because of some higher force, and then they are either good or bad for you retrospectively.
But yeah, of course, and everything is individual. So
yes, but what I can say from my own life, where I actually acted right, although I don't know the reasons for the actions at that moment, because I was young, but I was definitely not blinded by the title or the success of somebody. Because I even have, I will not mention names, but I have even such a situation where an extremely famous pianist at that point, who, in my opinion, and in my opinion still, doesn't play great, even wanted to kind of get in touch with me, sort of, and I did not do that because I knew there's no common
energy
and no overlap in terms of what I could learn from that person and so on. Continuing your thought, one should have been tempted to take such an offer because one could have had some perks.
Yes,
yes,
exactly.
But this is sort of connected with my first comment about the outcome, because I was always having, due to my first teacher, like this musical spine, in that sense that I was very clear of what I was looking for.
Well, of course, this was due to the fact that you were a bit more self-aware than a normal
later,
student, because they start much earlier and you did start.
That's correct.
Late.
That's correct. But of course, when the student or the child is young, then the parents do that kind of thinking or feeling for them. So the system is the same. It's about balance, or it's about compatibility of energies, compatibility of musical expressions even. If that doesn't fit, it will not go. And then of course it also depends on the level of the student, because if you just want to play music as a good amateur for fun, I think it's a completely different story than if you want to be a professional.
Or if you don't think about
and maybe live from that,
yourself,
right?
Exactly, yourself on big
But this
stages.
is again the motivation, right? If my motivation is to just play nice music after dinner for my family, then I will need a different teacher than if I want to win a major competition, or even live from that, or even become one of the best pianists in the world, or whatever. Sticking to the piano now. So motivation is absolutely important, and I think the most important thing is that if one is not aware of what one really wants, then this is the first question to ask oneself.
You mentioned competitions, and this is part of nowadays every student's life, actually, because it's a great opportunity to get one's name out. And that brings me to another situation that I would like to discuss a bit longer, because it's more complex. Let's say I'm a student and I'm planning to participate in a competition, violin competition, piano competition, depending on my instrument, of course. And in order to satisfy the jury members, I check how they play, and it's a common thing that people do. And of course, if they play at all, because some jury members don't play, or one cannot really find recordings. And I look for master classes with them, with my future jury, so that they can get to know me, maybe get to like me, teach me something they like to hear in music. And that's also a slippery slope, in a way.
It absolutely is, because while it's smart to understand what juries value, given the fact that competitions are for horses in the first place. No, but honestly...
We talked about that as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a bit of a two-edged sword, because on the one hand, if you prepare for a competition, it's smart to inform yourself who you play for. But at the same time, it's in music, the ideal, I know we don't live in an ideal world, but the ideal is that music is the absolute most important thing in the world, meaning that it's not important how a jury member plays, it's important about the actual substance of what you want from music and how your music is played. Okay, but that's the problem in general education, also not only in music, that we don't have passion lessons in school to really find out what we really like. And so we also in music, it's very rare to have a teacher who actually tells you what music should be really about, and if the energy fits so well that the student gets it, then a fire is illuminated and you will only care about music.
And it's unbreakable as well, so it's not like that I try to satisfy everybody and be somewhere in the middle, because that's
exactly
the
danger.
That's
what I wanted to say. So it's smart, it's a good preparation to know whom you play for, so checking how jury members play and how they what their view on music is, that's good.
We are not talking today about competitions in general, but we are talking here about educational input. So in that case, master classes taken from multiple.
I will get there because while it's smart to do that, it's not smart to go to a lot of master classes with different people, and then at the end of the day everybody is saying something slightly different, and if you don't have that kind of ground truth, or not truth, but ground kind of fire of music, or that music is the only thing you really care about, then it's very hard, because then you don't know if you should play this or that way, and then you will sure as hell not play as you are, but you will make some kind of educated guess as to whom to trust and then play sort of in the middle. So it's not a good motivation to go back to the motivation to actually have a lot of master classes just so you prepare for a competition and you want to win, you know.
Yeah,
and
this is not the way how you do it.
Yeah.
Not only it's risky, but as well, it's not a right strategy at all. Although some students might think that they are diligent by comparing the opinions, different takes on the music-related subjects. But if it's not close to your heart, and if it doesn't resonate with you in a way, first you have to establish what resonates with you and what doesn't.
That's the energy compatibility and the musical expression I mentioned. Because this is so important, because usually in a good teacher-student relation, you feel similarities, but this is not like it's because there are two kinds of similarities. It's the similarities of the copy machines that just play however you tell them to play as a teacher, and then they play sort of similar because they just copy, or there is this kind of felt, like a stupid word, or is this kind of deeper similarity that student and teacher
drawn to that teacher
might play differently in small things, but the essence or the expression is similar because they see music in a similar way. And this is very important, I think, to find that kind of emotional signature.
I would even say that this is the only way how you can, as a student, grow, really. Because you already have your core and you just have to develop it. And not change it completely, because that's not natural. This is not you then.
And it's not impossible, I think. It will always be fake, I think.
That's why there are so many fake players.
Yes, but this doesn't sometimes mean that you don't make a career, and that's where it gets tricky.
Yes, that's why. This is, but here it's another subject, of course. Again, motivations. If your motivation is to make a career, or motivation is to develop musically, or both.
This is like in business, sorry to interrupt. It's like if you really care about making a product or about making people's lives better, and therefore you do that product or that service in order to really make people happy, then it's a different motivation than if you just want to make money.
That's true. But I think we focus too much on students, and I actually wanted to talk about teachers today.
Sorry.
So how to spot a bad teacher?
Good question, because I can only answer how I do it.
You don't have teachers anymore.
No, but I did that all my life. First of all, if you don't, like as I said, it's really personal experience. If you don't get a logic answer on a question, that shows that, because we were talking about the music, we're talking about many open questions. The questions are very hard to answer. And for such questions, if the teacher does not give you an honest answer that it makes logically sense, or if somebody cannot answer something at all, that's a first red light for me. That was always the red light when I left teachers or when I changed something, because there are certain variables, of course, that we can never know. We don't know how Chopin really played. So that's, for example, one thing, just Chopin as an example. If one teacher tells you that he knows how Chopin is to be played for sure, then I'm already leaving. Because it's not possible. We don't know. So therefore we need logic. We need, if one says, okay, should I play here forte, should I play here piano, should I play here crescendo and something, okay, then...
Just, sorry, to make it clear, there are certain traditions and there are certain rules. So in a way we know and we don't know at the same time.
Exactly, but that's what I mean, the logic answer, because I was going to get there. Because when the question is, for example, shall I play forte there or not? or shall I play crescendo there or not? Then a good teacher's answer is of course, for every question will be slightly different, but it will look at certain angles. It will look at the score, what we know, what is written. He will have knowledge from how they probably played, how the instruments at the time were, then how the traditions were, what we know with our own ears, what are the closest, most talented pianists, for example, to stick to the piano, were that played that piece and how they played and such things. So there are certain things that a very good teacher will have as an explanation of his answer, whether to play forte or piano in one place, will have these aspects in the answer. If he or she does not, then it means that there's something wrong, or he doesn't know or she doesn't know, and that's also okay. But then again, it depends on the motivation, what you want, on your goals, where you want to go, and so. But so that was, for example, one. If I didn't get such logic answers or answers that just didn't make sense, where you could just spot that there's something wrong, then this is always a red light. Then a bad teacher, of course, if he or she cannot really motivate, like if there's, for me personally, again I say that, some positivity, some motivation from
if one
the teacher
doesn't
coming,
feel uplifted in a way, because,
passion, that
yes,
yes, you can have a harsh comment and you can hate him or her, that's also okay sometimes, but it generally has to be like that one builds something together and not just, yeah, you come here, you play for me, I tell you what you do wrong, and come back next week.
yeah. But please excuse me that I interrupt here, but it's as well a dangerous situation sometimes, because you see, teachers have their own motivations as well. And sometimes teachers will motivate you and inspire you in the best way just because of their motivations, and which can be good and not. And I would like to talk here about these less positive motivations of teachers, because there are some teachers that, for example, let's say I'm a student and he wants or she wants to keep me as a student, just because either I am really good and he knows that and wants to keep me as a student, because having talented students, let's face it, is also good for the teachers. Because imagine a student wins some important competitions, and then automatically the teacher gets more interest from other students. This
from
doesn't have
yes,
this doesn't have to be bad, of course, but it can be. And it can be if the teacher has to prove something to himself. And that's his only chance, through his students. And
good point.
Depends on this motivation.
No, absolutely. And that's why, I mean, this is sort of connected also to this ground, truth or North Star of what music should be. Because let's face it, education is a big business.
It is, and it's a quite saturated market, one has to say as well.
Yeah, and the thing is that, of course, while everybody has to make a living, and that's totally okay, but there has to be a balance as to, as I said, music has to be more important. In that case, it has to be more important that a student is musically developing and not only just winning competitions. Or you see, that's if the competition win is the only motivation in order to pump the teacher's ego, then it's wrong.
It's not even only about his ego, but as well some advancement in his own teaching career.
That's what I mean, yeah. Also, that's why it's a business, right? You earn more money if you have more successful students. Let's face it. It's just a fact, especially when the Asian market comes in. This is how
that's true. That's true.
Western teachers finance themselves for the last decades.
Which some rightly so, one must say, some rightly so. But there are some teachers who just use that as an opportunity to either make more money or just bump their own ego. And of course, there's another layer to it, when a teacher treats a student as an extension of himself.
Yeah.
Because there are some teachers that are very much, since, for example, they didn't succeed in making a big career, or they failed in a way, even only for themselves. Maybe they are not so unsuccessful, but they expect it to be bigger than they are. and go into the teaching field, let's put it this way, some people tend to see students as an extension of themselves.
Yes, and while this is most of the time not going well, in some cases it does go well in that sense that the student really plays really well. And there I will not mention names, but there are some historic examples where it's like this, that as long as that teacher that was constantly around them and was basically treating the pianist as an extension of him or herself, as long as that teacher was around, he or she was playing super. And as soon as that teacher was gone, because he or she died, one saw the real personality or skill of that pianist, and it got rapidly worse.
Because the person was not guided anymore.
Yes. So there are two things of that. Most of the cases that are like that the teacher treats the student as an extension, doesn't go well in the first place because there is something off. But sometimes it does go well, but also not for so long. Because it's just simply, we human beings, I mean, unless, of course, there's always an exception to the rule, but we human beings generally want to be free. We are not at our best.
That was as well covered in one of the episodes.
If one is smothered.
So it's about honesty versus calculation. And it's good if students can spot these motivations of teachers and as well observe if their teacher is coherent in this, what he's doing, saying.
And playing.
And ideally playing, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's about this balance of, because we all need a healthy motivation for life, whether that's living a good life or being amongst good people or having good music around you or whatever somebody needs in order to be happy.
Yeah, but excuse me, because you mentioned that and playing, and exactly that would be my next thing. Some teachers might be less talented than you, but might be great teachers. It is just like that. Some people have really talent for teaching. So they can push your skills forward. They are uplifting. What they say resonates with you. You're happy as a student. And that's good. So it's not only about how they play, because sometimes they can express music better with students' hands than their own.
Absolutely. And absolutely true. And here it really depends on it. That's why I called it musical expression, because even if there are many teachers that are really good musicians that know exactly what, like if a great conductor cannot play the violin himself, but he knows how it should be sounding. But I think there's also some musical expression that is fitting to the active musician's expression. So if there's an overlap of what a teacher feels like, what a student feels like, then that's a winning combination, I think. It's not about only technical skills, but it's about musical skills. But they have to be there. And usually you still spot that when somebody is playing that's why I said playing, in the lesson. Because somebody doesn't have to be on stage playing
you mean a teacher?
Yes, one doesn't have to be playing a 2-hour recital in order to be a good pianist.
So he doesn't have to be a name.
No, but he or she can be just sitting on the piano and play one phrase, and you see how it sounds. But even that sometimes maybe is also not there. But if it's in the brain there and he can communicate the right things to the student, that's also good. So absolutely true what you said.
One needs very sensitive and intelligent students to spot these all things, I feel.
Well, again, as you said, it's about the motivation from both sides. What you want to reach as a student and what the teacher wants to achieve in his life, right? If there's a match, then it's fine on any level. As I said, if somebody wants to be an amateur pianist and he just wants to have fun, then he needs a fun teacher who gives him exactly what he's looking for. While if somebody wants to be a professional, you need different things, and so on.
This group of teachers that scare me probably the most, good that I'm not a music student, are these people that do things just for money.
I generally don't like these people.
Well, yeah, because you see, they will tell you anything. Yeah, you're talented, you have it. Let's continue our lessons.
Or you still have a lot to learn.
Or you have still a lot to learn, but I will help you with everything. This group of teachers really, really scare me.
Well, he's a good businessman.
Yes. Yes.
Which
Honesty.
one should also spot?
Sometimes difficult, you see, because we like to be, human beings like to feel good. So if someone tells me I have a talent in this or the other field, I feel good. I want to hear more.
Yeah, sure. The referencing is important to actually see if it's true what somebody says.
Yes.
But even that, sometimes it comes down to a feeling, because even that you cannot check always. An analytic mind in many things not at all, but in some things I am. But even if you try your utmost, some things you just cannot check. You have to feel something. The gut feeling most of the time tells you much more than some analysis.
Yes. Think with your heart.
Also that we mentioned. So.
Did we?
No, but these are
universal truths.
Again, that's actually a serious subject, but
it is a very serious subject because it shapes, in fact, lives and futures of very many students. And
yes, and I do believe if this what we just now tried to analyze, even if people do not think about that or do not actively look for these cues, if that sort of is right, like if it's shaping right because whatever force shapes your life, then good things happen. And sometimes these good things do not happen and bad things happen. And then most of the time it's these kind of things that we mentioned now that did not go well. So if one can prevent some, bad thing to happen and make something good out of it, this is the point of that episode.
Do great musicians make good teachers? And I'm not talking here about their PR, I'm talking about their craft, so musicality, understanding. This is what I mean by great. Do they make good teachers?
I don't think all the time. I don't think it's always a match.
All the time, so it's not a
I don't
given.
think it's no. I don't think it's all the time like this that the great musician, a skilled, really good one, is also a good teacher. Like it's sometimes not the case. That's what I wanted to say. And while I of course don't know so many examples to really know that for sure, but my gut feeling tells me that it's about how these people treat or play music in the first place. There are some naturally gifted people who really do not think a lot.
And can't even explain why they're
and that's
doing
not
what they're
meant
doing.
in a bad way, because they are just so good that they don't have to think. They just play and it's nice.
And they don't, and frankly speaking, some are as well not really bothered to think, why am I playing this way? Okay, I will now think why I'm playing this way. Because this is what you have to then analyze things, and some people just don't analyze.
So I think
much.
as it's true that some great teachers are not great active performers, let's say, it's true the reverse way as well, that some great active performers are not good teachers.
Now, the degrees, because some people, I'm not talking here necessarily about musicians or music students, I'm talking rather in general. Some people are drawn to formal education degrees. For some, if a teacher has a PhD or a professor title, he's automatically better. And this doesn't have to be the case. Can be, but doesn't have to be. It always depends on what a student looks for in a mentor. Scholarly knowledge, skills, deeper thinking, inspiration, intelligence. And this is a very individual thing. And also one has to define what is it I'm looking for, and then look for it.
It will only manifest if you're sure what you want.
That's true, but I don't mention this in order to belittle anyone, a PhD or a professor. I want to just emphasize that the most important is your own clarity, what I expect from this or that teacher, and then put away his degrees, even his achievements, I would say, or a career, and see if this, what he tells me, resonates with me, inspires me to work on myself, and if this really helps me grow. Or I take everything blindly because he, she has something I don't have, and I'm impressed by that. This is about degrees, this is about the achievements.
Yeah, this is generally a difficult topic, because also in science or generally in our world, how it looks, this degree inflation and all that, it's a completely different life path, whether you go the the degree route or the, let's call it, creation route in that sense. Because there are some super smart, of course, degree holder, but they never talk about degrees because it doesn't matter for them. But they are actually about what they are researching or what they are teaching or what they are playing.
But one must say, and again, I don't want to sound disrespectful to anyone, but in this, what I see in music fields, sometimes it happens that teachers, or let's say musicians who cannot make career in any way because either they are not fit for a stage or they are not too lucky, they go this academic route. And they go with the degrees. You know, I mean, you simply feel better if you achieve something, and it can be a degree higher, but it doesn't make you necessarily a better
exactly.
musician,
or it's even
specialist.
just trying this different path of life. So, you know, if one didn't, we usually, I mean, it's a sensible choice to make, that you make a change if something doesn't work. So you try something else, and sometimes it's that. So there's nothing wrong with it. If one is really passionate about
of course,
that,
but it shouldn't
fine.
be something that one bases his choices on in terms of teacher selection.
As a student, yes.
As a student.
Yeah, because these are two different things, and one has to be aware of that. As you said, sometimes they are nicely combined, so people really have a lot of academic knowledge and know how to actually translate that into...
And also not this, because then they are as well able to have a deep and profound conversation with such a person, and with another one, not necessarily.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just one has to be aware that one is not impressed by that only, unless it's coming with some evidence.
It's not just that somebody has many words to say or memorized phrases, but something special, some kind of connection that this student feels.
The connection is a good word, because this sums up many things. We need that connection to music, we need that connection to each other in order to make it work in the student-teacher relation as well. It's about this input-output, give and take.
Let's sum it up maybe in a condensed way. What's important and what's not?
Well, inspiration is for me number one in a teacher. Love for music, obviously, but also at the same time to be clarity in explaining things, logic, explanations. And at the same time, for me, the empathy part is important, that somebody really reacts to my needs as a student and to shape me, or that he or she shapes the student in a way that it's emphasizing all the skills of that student. Because in my humble opinion, a great musician is a great musician from birth. Like a great teacher is polishing that diamond, is putting it to the right track, is kind of foreseeing where such a person could be, but the substance matter is there. So it's about spotting that and bringing it to the best possible version of him or herself.
To sum it up, this what you said, I will use a quote by someone who was mentioned multiple times on this podcast, Maria Callas. She said, "Good teachers make the best of a pupil's means. Great teachers foresee a pupil's ends."
Well, she's just much smarter than me.
No, you just like to talk a lot.